So it's very interesting, and I really love, Dan's enthusiasm. I went along to his labs, and he was showing me all of the different research projects that he's got, and he really has got a can-do attitude. But it's also interesting just to reflect on a couple of comments that Professor Pearson made there, particularly about the fact that any transition period in energy takes an amount of time, that there will always be people who just like sit back, that the real danger is inertia, and where there is any sort of confusion, where things aren't completely clear, because it's not absolutely clear-cut what we have to do, then there's a real temptation to do nothing. And as Dan says, if we do nothing, the implications could be quite serious. The problem always being, we can't see into the future. The only way of knowing what's going to happen in the future is to actually go there. Now, bearing that in mind, and because you are so very, very intrepid and you've got yourselves here, I thought you wouldn't mind a quick trip to the future. And I brought along a little gadget. Now, unfortunately, this time travel gadget never made it because we showed it on Tomorrow's World, but sadly, it never got through health and safety, but you look like the kind of people who wouldn't really mind too much if we just had a little experiment and span ourselves forward. So let's just go forward 50 years and see what happens if we do absolutely nothing. And this, of course, is what would happen. Those of us who were living in the 70s will remember all of those power cuts. And as Pearson sort of said, it's one thing to be sort of optimistic. There are all these possibilities out there. But if we don't really engage, if we don't crack on and do it, if we don't all buy into it, then really it could be very uncomfortable. And we've got used to all of our shiny toys. We've got used to being able to replace the phone with another phone, to be able to go to Africa because we want to go to Africa. Perhaps we're going to have to rethink all of this. We're all going to have to make certain changes. So I just want to make sure that there is a commitment from every single person in this room that we are not going to be inert and sit back and wait for the college on the other side of the UK or the other side of the world to make changes to the curriculum and to make changes to the teaching and to make changes to the way you liaise with business, that we are going to do it now. It's very important that we all do it. So do we have that commitment? Excellent, so then we can turn the lights back on and I can stop being bedazzled by this, bought at huge expense by the NEF. We ought to offer that up as a prize. I think it ought to be an additional prize for the posters, but there we go. Incentivise. So we're all agreed. We all have to do something here. And obviously, the real hope for the future is our technologists and our engineers and our scientists, because they're the people who are going to be able to help us to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and really roll out the UK's renewable energy programmes. You don't need me to bang on about the skills shortage and the fact this is all very well, but we don't really have the people around at the moment who are going to be able to do this. It's much better to hear it from the horse's mouth, to get a perspective from industry on just how confident they really feel about being able to get enough people into those jobs, which are going to be the jobs of the future. Now, in a few months' time, up in Humberside, a new plant is going to begin producing 420 million litres of bioethanol every year. So just before Christmas, I trekked up there to meet Andy Bullman to find out what kind of skills they needed and how easy they were finding it to track down the right people. And the really important thing to remember about this is that when I arrived there was that his offices, it was like the Marie Celeste, because it was the day of the office Christmas party. Everybody else had gone, apart from Andy, who rather stoically had remained behind to chat to us. And so let's hear from him. Let's hear about the company, about their plans, and about their issues with finding the right people that fit into the jobs they've got available.